What's up, people? I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie with an addendum to my Neil Young debut album review and ranking. I was originally going to do this at the end of like in a year when I'm done with all of his studio albums. Then I was like, no, that's stupid. And so then I was going to do it when I got to the end of a certain album and the sort of archives stopped covering that album. And then the next archives took over. I was going to do like an archive one review, when I got to like this early mid 70s. But I thought, no, let's do it after each album. So this is what this is I'm going to like rank and review each album. So I'm going through the entire Neil catalog. But then after each one, up until we get through archive 3, of course, unless 4 drops in the meanwhile, which I don't think it will. I'm going to talk about what in the Neil Young archives, specifically the 3 albums, the 3 box sets that have been released, are what songs from like each album are in the archives. Not going to do stuff that was like recorded in those sessions or stuff. It's like literally just the songs on the album, what appeared in the archives. And so I'm going to talk about the debut album. There are songs from the debut album on each of the 3 archives, and I'm just going to go through them from my ranking. There's 13 different appearances. I'm going to rank them. I will put the list on the screen so you can see. And if you're not familiar with Neil Young's archive release series, they really are just archives because it's like some of the stuff has been previously released. Like I'm going to talk about The Loner, the live Rust version. That's in the archives. Some of the stuff is previously unreleased. Some of the stuff is unreleased, but then would be released later, like live tracks that would appear in like, you get 4 songs from like a show, but then there would be a release later of the complete show. So there's duplicates in here. You get actual studio songs. Not going to talk about the stuff that's just a studio song. I talked about that on the studio album version. So it'll make sense as I get started. Also, I did not mention the Frank Zappa connection when I did it. Apparently, there exists 3 hours of Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young fighting backstage at the Fillmore East. Some groupies have that tape, and we're going to share it with Howie at one point, Fillmore East, or the stage 1 version of the groupie routine, the stage 1 version of the groupie routine. So, yeah, that's the connection. Not a very strong one, but we're going with it because it's Neil Young. So yeah, 13 songs in the archives that are alternate versions or live versions of stuff on his debut album. My 13th would be, there's an unreleased mix of I've Been Waiting for You. I actually prefer the original. I just think it sounds better. I don't know. I don't like this new mix. It's not starkly different, but little minor details. I just don't think it works as well. Here We Are in the Years, pretty much like a different version of the studio track. Not one of my favorite tracks on the album to begin with. I know a lot of people really like that song. I don't. So this one isn't starkly different enough to be higher on the list, though this song will appear on the list later because there is a starkly different version. The Loner at 11, which kind of just shows how strong this is because it's a pretty good live version from 73 with the Stray Gators, but it's a pretty straightforward live version. They're just pretty much playing the Loner. Loner's going to appear on this list again in a better version. At 10, What Did You Do to My Life? An unreleased mix of this. I think I like this mix better. The guitar, that sort of lead guitar that drives the song early, it's kind of more up front in the mix, kind of brighter colors. I do think this mix is better than the original mix, so yeah. 9 and 8 are both versions of The Old Laughing Lady, both live in 76. Both would then be later released. I don't think they'd been released when they appeared on here. Songs for Judy. One of these is on Songs for Judy, which is a live 1976 collection. The other one is on Odie and Budokan, which is a live 1976 March 76 version. Both solo acoustic versions, both great to hear. Both have, he kind of throws in like a verse of Guilty Train at the end of the song, just kind of tacks that in. Something he was definitely doing in 76 as it occurs on both of these. Yeah, good versions. Fun to hear this song. You don't have that sort of awesome harmonies in the studio version, but it's still a good performance. Number 7 is Whiskey Boot Hill, which I'm assuming the string quartet from Whiskey Boot Hill is the string quartet version of this. This is a solo acoustic song. It's on Live at the Riverboat 1969. It's got lyrics. Just kind of neat to hear. Good little inclusion in the archives. I think this is on the first archives. Number 6, I've Loved Her So Long. This is a Live at the Riverboat version, solo acoustic, just that aching vocal. The one that's also on the studio version is still here. One of his better, just tapping into something like the angst of loving somebody for so long. Either, I don't know if it's unrequited or it's just falling apart, or there's an ache in this. Really good performance. We got, okay, this is one that jumped up. We got a live version of Here We Are in the Years from the Tuscaloosa release. This is much later in 73. This is just, what did I write? But this is just, I just prefer this. I like this just solo Neil performing the song. I think it connects a little more. I think there's a little bit more of a rawness. This was I think the show opener at Tuscaloosa. So a great choice of song openers. This is from February 73. Then we get at number 4, a Live at the Riverboat version of The Last Trip to Tulsa. Where was this from? My notes. Yeah, this is just Toronto 1969, right? That's where Live at the Riverboat is. I think this is a Toronto show. It's just a solo acoustic version. Number 3, another solo acoustic version of The Old Laughing Lady from also the Live at the Riverboat release, 1969. I have these higher than the 76 versions just because I think there's a bigness. I don't know if that's the right word. It's not a word, but there's like a grandness or some like, by those later 76 shows of like The Old Laughing Lady, particularly that song, they just seem a little bit bigger and not quite as intimate, or, Neil's a little more of a more confident performer or something. I just think these early 69 versions, maybe because it's Toronto and he's back in Canada or something about it, seems like there's just a little more intimacy in the performances. Number 2 is the live rest version of The Loner. That's it. That's the one. That's like definitive. This band's bringing it. Everything about this is fantastic. Yeah, just absolutely awesome. What did that appear on? Yeah, that's on volume 3. That just dropped on the recent archives, where they covered that. And that solo kind of towards the end, just squiggly and just absolutely amazing. And then number 1, easily number 1, kind of the reason I wanted to do this, because I'm pretty sure every album might have one of these where it's just like, okay, this has to be heard. And it was originally released as the B-side of Time Fades Away. This is a live version, February 73, with the Stray Gators, a live version of The Last Trip to Tulsa. It is fantastic. I think he does 3 verses only, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think he does 3 separate verses. Solos in between the verses that are just fantastic. The energy is amazing. It is just like, everything else on here is like, it's interesting, but it's not a dramatic reworking. I think the other one that maybe really stands out as something different is the like solo acoustic version of Here We Are in the Years. Like The Loner, that's a great performance, but it's The Loner just with a little more like Crazy Horse energy. But this Last Trip to Tulsa performance, like this is something, I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'll go to his archives, go to neilyoungarchives.com. I think you can stream everything on these. Like, that is just an amazing site. But yeah, you need to, check out this Last Trip to Tulsa. Absolutely fantastic performance. So yeah, that's it. Just my little addendum to the debut album. I'm committed to a year-long, incredibly deep dive to Neil Young. Like, I feel like we're mortals, right? At some point, I'm going to do it in the next, 10, 20 years, just because, humans. So I figured I would do it now, and have that appreciation, and maybe do it before everybody else does it. So anyways, yeah, that's it. That was kind of morbid. Didn't mean to be morbid, but, it's truthful. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Love to know your comments on these. Definitely go check out that Last Trip to Tulsa. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things. And peace. Talk to you later.